what is happening, and it will give them better information to deal with those modern threats. So who is attacking our networks? Right. So initially, when computing started, there were typically a broad kind of attackers that are available. So the broad category also has had two means or methods to attack a certain organization or a certain person. There are a few newbie type of attackers who will use off-the-shelf tools and techniques, and there are other sophisticated attackers or hackers, if you want to call them that way, who will generally be involved in a cyber war kind of scenario. So off-the-shelf tools and techniques, when they are being used, they are typically used indiscriminately. I mean, they are not targeted at anyone. It's very broad. So if they'll do a general port scan on all public IP addresses, find if there are any open ports, try to get in using those ports. So it's indiscriminate. There is really no goal or no motive for their actions. They typically lack sophisticated technical skills. They used to use a tool chest of exploit and malware kits. So if they find out that their friends have a very cool botnet, they will get that botnet modified to some extent and then again push it out to the network. And then malware will open up backdoors for them. So typically it was those college student kind of guys who use this. Of course, there were some professionals too, but this was more often to look cool rather than any purpose. They had developed a set of botnet builders which could easily allow you to create botnets. They were financially motivated, but as I said, they were indiscriminate. So they had no one particular financial institution or one particular person as a target. There were other nuisance makers like spam and DOS. So they would typically target a few email users randomly and spam them, or they would just get onto a public-facing web server and try to run a DOS attack on it. So these are the typical broad off-the-shelf users. Sophisticated ones were funded by countries, and they involved cyber war, but again, the scale was not that high. Nowadays, they are more targeted in nature. They have matured technologically also, and the main thing is they are finding enough points to attack. In the sense, the automation that we have in our networks today is so high that they are finding enough entry points to cause harm. So what are these? So even now there are off-the-shelf tools and techniques which are used for financially motivated targeted hacks, DDoS attacks, and by groups like Anonymous and LulzSec. The sophisticated ones, the ones that we are very concerned about, are the ones that are targeted and sophisticated at the same time. One of those is advanced persistent threats. Then they are the main thing about these is they are organized and they are state-sponsored. They are discovering new vulnerabilities all the time, and they have unprecedented attack techniques. You would have heard about the recent attack on Iranian nuclear reactors. That was an advanced persistent threat, and it was unprecedented. Nobody had expected someone to plant a worm into Iran's nuclear reactors. They couldn't see it coming, right? Moving on to the next slide. Advanced persistent threats. They are different. How are they different? First of all, we'll go one by one. So they are advanced. How are they advanced? They are exploiting zero-day vulnerability. So what's a zero-day vulnerability? Is something which comes up as, you don't know about it, and before you know about it, they have found a new one. So it's called zero-day in the sense that it's unknown right now. It's unknown to most of the world, and they are exploiting it. So if somebody knows about a vulnerability in the US, it takes time to propagate to say Asia Pacific. So for Asia Pacific, it's still not a known vulnerability. So they are exploiting those. They are using advanced custom malware, which is not detected by antivirus products. And they are coordinated and well-researched attacks using multiple entry points. They are not going to attack you at one point. They are going to attack an individual or a company at multiple points. So if you have a public IP, you are getting attacked there. They might send phishing attacks to your employees, asking them to click on links which they don't know. They can send spams to your mail servers, and this can all happen at the same time. They are very persistent. Attacks last for months or years. The Iranian attack, I think it was lurking in there for 6 months before it actually started doing what it was supposed to do. So it won't do anything suspicious for you to even detect it. They are dedicated to the target. They will get in. So the one that was built for Iran was specifically written for Siemens automation controllers. So it was specifically written for that. The threat, it's because it's targeted at specific individuals and groups within an organization, and they are aimed at compromising confidential information, but also to cause a hindrance to your agenda. So if you want to say, maybe if you are declaring your shares IPO the next day, and it's a very crucial moment for you, they will strike at that particular instance itself. And you know what happens when the media gets news that some organization has been hacked. It's a total loss of brand value. They are not random attacks. As I said, they are going to get you, and they are going to do a concentrated attack until you bend. Right? So this responding is a bit different too, as you will see. So we take a watch, wait, time strategy. You don't typically respond as you would do in typical antivirus or botnet attacks. Moving to the next slide. So how can security intelligence help in this? I mean, this is a very gloomy scenario.